Oops. Good morning. Oh, good. I thought maybe it didn't work. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Tanya. Mom. I don't have my glasses on. Good morning. Sarah and Nina. Sometimes the names pop in so quick I miss them. So if I missed you, I'm sorry. I apologize. Thank you for the shares and the hearts and all the stuff. All the good stuff. My goal for January is to find a different frame for glasses. I hate my glasses. You don't like them at all. They work and they keep me from getting headaches, but this frame and me, we're not getting along. Hi, Roseanne. So, guess what? We're over $1,000 for the GoFundMe campaign. Another $80 and even the fees are covered. You guys, we did it. That is the first time in my life that I've run any kind of campaign that worked. Yay! Let's all do Ashland and give ourselves a round of applause. Yay! Yahoo! And that's totally awesome. And today's the last day. And that includes like people who just donated and people who bought services like a workshop ticket or a coaching session. Somebody bought a Reiki session, outside of the campaign. So yeah, it all came together, which means that I can extend. So the next women's workshop, I had cut the ticket sales off at January 5th. Thank you. I was praying pretty hard too. I cut the sales off at January 5th because I was going to have to make a decision whether I was going to be able to renew or not. So now that I know I can renew, thank you guys. Thank you, universe. Thank you, me. Thanks. Then I can extend those ticket sales to January 10th. I can put a whole nother, not good with math, 5. Oh yeah, 5. 5 from 10 is 5. Yay, awesomeness. Yay. So that's a big deal in my life. That's a big sign to me for maybe turning a corner financially with being able to ask for help. That's been difficult. And then receive it. So you can ask for it and then still not receive it. Oh yeah. I'll go in and change it today. Promote the shit out of that. It's a huge deal. Thank you. It is my favorite thing to do. I do have my battery pack today, so we're not gonna run out. But I forgot to plug it in. I forgot to plug it in before I hit start, so I'm at 100%, so I think we're probably okay. It's a hard workshop to promote, I'm finding. It's hard to explain. It's not really all Desire Map. It's Byron Katie stuff. It's Martha Beck stuff. It's jumping on something you say in the moment and coaching through it in the moment. You can't predict that stuff, and it's really hard to describe. I'm finding it's difficult. So, I put Metaphor and Magic in the title. It is. Me too. Well, I think I have been lacking the consistent application. Right, Tanya, right? Yeah. So it keeps bringing me back to letting go of the old marketing paradigm of I got to have an email list and I got to pound people with emails and I got to push, hustle, whatever you want to call it. I got to hunt people down and drag them to the workshop. That kind of stuff I really... Oh, great. Cool. Right. I don't read half the newsletters I get. I like getting them, but building an email list and doing all that traditional stuff, I'm really happy to hear that about Ben. I was like, well, hopefully you got something out of that. It's hard with visual learners on a phone call. It's a little difficult. I would love to have been able to, I love to draw diagrams and stuff, so we may figure out a way to use Skype or something later, but right now it's just not technologically possible. Anyway, so I'm kind of left with letting people come to me. Oh, well, that's good, though. You guys all went through it, right? You start desire mapping and the lid comes off of your feelings and they start spilling out all over the place and you're like, why did I sign up for this again? Oh, good. Good. It brings it all up. So, metaphors. The Tao Te Ching is instructions for life in metaphor form, right? Poetry. I'm going to read what we have today, and then I'm going to give you a tool, excuse me, for working with metaphor on a problem in, yeah, she is so excited. I can't hardly wait for another class to start. It's I get as much out of it as I put into it. So be kind of thinking about a problem that you have that you've been struggling for an answer to, and we'll go through this metaphor tool, which comes from this book, Defining Your Way in a Wild New World. There's an exercise in here for using metaphor to get information on a problem that you have. So I'm sure we can all think of a problem we can use. And I did it last night again for like the millionth time, and I'll walk you through that, and you can do one for yourself. Heidi is too. Good morning, Heidi. Roseanne will be joining you in the workshop. I'm just giddy. This morning. And tired. Sundays are rough, physically. Not yet. Nobody else yet. So we'll see. I don't think I ever want to go over 7. But I don't know. So let's start. My name is Michelle Wolf, and I'm at CaddyshackDesigns.com. Across the top are tabs of everything that I do. I've added to my Reiki sessions oracle card readings. That's not on the website yet, and I don't think I'm going to put it on the website. I think I'm going to let that be just a word of mouth thing. But now with, and also that will need to be a little bit higher price than just your standard, but probably only like $20 more. I don't want to make it out of reach. Today's our Tao Te Ching study, so let's start with this book. The doing without doing is the only way advertising for my version of the desire map is going to work. I can't think of any copy to write. I can't think of, and I don't normally struggle with that kind of stuff, so it's like, well, just let it be, just accept the isness of what it is. Not making war is today. Yeah, we're on chapter 30 already. Gosh, are we 81? Number 30. Not making war. A Taoist wouldn't advise a ruler to use force of arms for conquest. That tactic backfires. That's the old marketing stuff. That's not going to work much more. It definitely doesn't work for people like us. A Taoist wouldn't advise a ruler to use force of arms for conquest. That tactic backfires. Where the army marched, grow thorns and thistles. After the war come the bad harvests. Oh, so true. Good leaders prosper, that's all, not presuming on victory. They prosper without boasting or domineering or arrogance. They prosper without boasting or domineering or arrogance. Prosper because they can't help it. Prosper without violence. Things flourish, then perish. Not the way. What's not the way soon ends. Everything that's not the way is temporary. Her notes say the first direct statement of Lao Tzu's pacifism is connected in thought to a previous poem and leads directly to the next. The last verse is enigmatic. Things flourish, then perish. How can this supremely natural sequence not be the way? I offer my understanding of it in the note on the page with chapter 55, where nearly the same phrase occurs. I see that as a reference to the temporary. Things that rise and fall, are temporary, and it's not. It is the way, but it's not the core of the way, because the way never rises and falls, or flourishes and perishes, as it never perishes. But let's see what she says. Let me get over here to verse 55. As a model for the, let me see. Where is it? Okay, so she came to the same conclusion. I understand how the natural, inevitable cycle of youth, growth, mature vigor, age, and decay can be not the way. The way is more than the cycle of any individual life. We rise, flourish, fail. The way never fails. We are waves, but it is the sea. We're the waves, it's the ocean. Makes perfect sense. When you force someone to change, they fight against you. And if it's a kid, sometimes they'll give you the superficial illusion that they've changed, and really they just take whatever it is underground. Or they bottle it all up and it comes raging back out at you later. Same with employees, same with spouses. You cannot force a change. If you're in a position of authority, you can make somebody do something if they feel like they have to stay and put up with it. But it won't ever be a lasting change. Yes, adults too. You can force someone to comply, but compliance is not change. Change has to start from within. Our laws can force compliance, but it doesn't mean that people will act in a more moral way unless they're just naturally moral. There's I'm going to forget the name, but it's a theory on stages of moral development, and it says that most adults are kind of at the stage of moral development where they obey the rules because they're the rules and they don't want to get in trouble. Good morning! The next stage of moral development is you obey the rules because you see the purpose of them. But what comes with that is then sometimes you don't obey the rules if they don't make any sense. It's really cold out here. Colder than I thought. It's because the wind just picked up. So let's see what this one says about that. This Stephen Mitchell's version. Whoever relies on the Tao in governing men doesn't try to force issues or defeat enemies by force of arms. Yeah, all of a sudden, where did that come from? For every force, there is a counter-force. Violence, even well-intentioned, always rebounds upon oneself, and that includes violence to ourselves in our minds. We're violent in the way we speak to ourselves. We don't label it violent, but it's violent. It's an attack, and it's mean, and it's meant to destroy. The master does his job and then stops. He understands that the universe is forever out of control, and that trying to dominate events goes against the current of the Tao. Because he believes in himself, he doesn't try to convince others. Because he is content with himself, he doesn't need others' approval. Such powerful words. Because he accepts himself, the whole world accepts him. Letting go of trying to convince other people is huge. Letting go of needing other people's approval is huger. Because we sacrifice ourselves a lot because we want someone's approval. Acceptance of yourself is the hugest of them all. the big deal. Total acceptance of yourself. You're comfortable with yourself. Other people are comfortable around you. And comfortable people are the best kind to be around, right? Because you can really connect that way. There's no hemming and hawing. There's no having to censor your conversation. If you don't like what the other person likes, you just say so. As a teenager, if somebody didn't like a music that I liked, I usually wouldn't say anything at all. Even worse, when I was really young, I would pretend to like a kind of music that I didn't even like, just because I was so afraid to be outside of the group. That never lasted very long, because I could never keep my mouth shut for too long. Wow. Woof. I think what I'll do is I'll do the metaphor exercise in a separate scope, because I think I'll do this and then move inside, and then we'll do the metaphor tool separately. So if you have time, you can hang around and just sign back on. So understanding that the universe is out of control and that trying to dominate events is crazy. That's right. Cult music because your friend did, yeah. That's right, bitches. You gotta be true to yourself. This is what I keep coming back to the last few days of, I have to be true to what I want to do. Even if it doesn't look like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It's certainly not a traditional job to do workshops online. It's certainly not a traditional way of marketing it. Mostly I just nag people to death. Like, you want to shut me out? Come to a workshop. That's really the best way to do it. Yeah, we're in a small niche, and that's okay. I'm okay with that part. And then the ego part is what is like, but you need an email list, and you need to be posting about this, and you need to be... Oh, it's so stressful. I wouldn't be 16 again for love nor money. No, sir. So let's see what Byron Katie says about this, because this is the core of her work. Thank you. Thank you. I just love it. It is something that I would do if nobody, well, I did, if nobody showed up. Yeah, mind loves the email list. Right. The more authentic I am, the more I get, Periscope has helped that immensely. Yeah. Counting your followers, worrying about who's following you and who's not following you, and watching that number go up and down will make you crazy. I let go of that one years ago, real quick. Because I was like, that's going to drive me nuts. Tracking my followers? No. The only time I look at my followers here is to follow people back. Yeah, a lot of people... Our business has changed from Periscope because I can't totally express who I am on paper. So the blog wasn't doing it. I have a friend who says I'm better live. Like, getting to know me is better live, with live TV or in person. As a singer, I'm better live. We tried recording me and it didn't work very well either. Okay, so chapter 30 in our Byron Katie book is living the way. Me too. Living the way requires you let go of the need for approval. Thank you, Nina. I love being unique, but yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's better than YouTube. It's better than video. Yeah. I love it. It's my favorite social media. You have to let go of control. You have to understand that everything in the universe is out of your control, and how you do it is questioning your stories. That's the practical day-to-day life. Better than MySpace. You guys, I kind of miss MySpace. I loved MySpace. I saw that. I haven't tried it yet. I don't have it yet. I think they're rolling it out in stages. Okay. How do we respond to a world that seems out of control? The world seems that way because, hello, it is out of control. The sun rises whether we want it to or not. The toaster breaks. Someone cuts you off on your way to work. We've never had control. And there's a limitation because not everybody can be on Facebook because of their jobs. I do both. Someone cuts you off in traffic. We've never had control. We have the illusion of control when things go the way we think they should. And when they don't, we say we've lost control, and we long for some sort of enlightened state beyond all this, where we imagine we'll have control again, but what we really want is peace. Right? We really want to choose peace over stress. We really want to tell ourselves, I don't have to be thinking these thoughts right now. I do have control over what thoughts I'm thinking. Oh, less fear interaction. I must have missed something. I haven't really checked it out that much. Honestly, I don't think I can learn anything else right now. What we really want is peace. We think that by having control or becoming enlightened, and no one knows what that means, we'll find peace. Before I woke up to reality in 1986, I had a symbol for that. No, hearts. Forget it. I'm not interested. I like my hearts. I really like the color combination today. It looks like autumn colors with a splash of pink. My children's socks. So every morning they would be on the floor, and every morning I would have the thought, my children should pick up their socks. It was my religion. You could say that my world was accelerating out of control. In my mind, there were socks everywhere, that symbol. And I would be filled with rage and depression because I believed that those socks didn't belong on the floor, even though morning after morning that's where they were. And I believed it was my children's job to pick them up, even though morning after morning they didn't. Those damn socks. I use the symbol of socks, but you might find that for you the same thoughts apply to the environment, politics, or money. Nerf bullets everywhere. Oh. We think these things should be different, and we suffer because we believe that. At 43, after 10 years of deep depression and despair, my real life began. I came to see my suffering wasn't a result of not having control, it was a result of arguing with reality. When I believed my thoughts, I suffered. When I didn't believe my thoughts, I didn't suffer. And this is true for every human being. Freedom is just that simple. I found that suffering is optional. International social issue. Even the Buddha said, my ears are cold, right? So even the Buddha said that suffering, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Yeah, it's chilly. We might be lagging. I'll go inside here in just a second. Because it's getting cold. Suffering is optional, right? We make ourselves a lot more miserable than reality would make us. When you question your mind for the love of truth, I'm jealous of your snow. Your life always becomes happier and kinder. I actually didn't realize it snowed there. Inquiry helps the suffering mind move out of its arguments with reality. Questioning helps you let go of the suffering that you're doing to yourself. That's cool. Everything changes, it seems, but when we're attached to our thoughts about how that change should look, being out of control feels uncomfortable. Ooh, that's cool. You're not that far from us. Well, it's really cold, so maybe we'll have some cold days. I'm freezing out the house too because I have the window open for the little Ginger Rose to get some outside time, but it may be too cold because I don't see her. Through inquiry, we enter the area where we do have control, which is our thinking. We question our thoughts about the ways in which the world seems to have gone crazy, and we come to see that the craziness was never in the world but in us. The world is a projection of our own thinking. When we understand our thinking, we understand the world and we come to love it. It is a projection of our own thinking. I know. If I'm going to be cold, I want some snow, damn it. Because we may all look at it as Donald Trump's a lunatic, but clearly there's plenty of people that look at him and think he's awesome. That's a projection of their thinking. The projection of my thinking is the man's a lunatic. In that workbook, that I was telling you guys about, there's a place where you write 100 things to do, and going to the beach is on that list. We're only 6 hours from Tybee Island. Who would I be without the thought the world needs improvement? I want to see Tillamook. Have you been to Tillamook, Nina? I dream about that place. We don't absolutely know he's a lunatic. Yeah, we do. All this stuff applies except that. But he's doing us a great service because he lets us know where the crazy is. There's no beach there, right? It's just rocks. Yeah, it looks incredible. I have a much clearer picture of how a lot of the people in our country think now that they've gotten really loud. Oh, it sounds beautiful. I mean, it really does. Portland's on my list, and Tillamook actually is on my list of things to do. So who would you be without the thought that you've got to fix things? I always got to be fixing. I got to lose weight. I got to change my damn thinking. I got to fix my hair. I got to fix my husband. I got to fix my kids. Who would you be without all that fixing energy? You'd be happy. Happy where I am right now, the woman sitting on a chair in the sunlight. My children pick up their socks now, they tell me. They understand now. They love me without condition because when I became quiet, they could hear themselves. Right. Yeah, who would you be? Relaxed. Peaceful. Creative. Me too. You used to think, I'll go to the head of the class if I suffered the most. And I know. There's that one-upping stuff of victimization. Like, I'm suffering more than you. And here's why. And then people come back and say, no, I'm suffering the most. I'm hurting the most because, and they go into their story and you're like, oh, geez. What if we just dropped it? What if just for today, we just dropped it? Let it go. Do the thing where you hold the pen in your hand and then just let it go. I do too, Nina. I'm really tired of it. It's exhausting me. It's time to stop that. When she became quiet, her children could hear themselves. They couldn't hear themselves over her. Pick up your damn socks. Wow, wow, wow. Everything I undo, they have to undo. They are me, living out what I believed. The apparent world is like an echo. It's a cool way to think of it. That echo went out from me for 43 years, and now it's coming back. Right, there's no competition. There's no competition. You are where you're at. Yes. Just sit back and just let life be what it is. It's very relaxing. And with all that extra energy, can you imagine what you'd create? Because in that quiet is when you hear that creative impulse. That's when you hear, hey, you should go make a collage right now. You should go crochet a sweater right now. Yeah, you learn so much because you've made the space. Yeah, our kids have to undo it too. Yeah, you should go paint. Yeah, and giving them the space to be quiet and learn. How are you going to hear the creative impulses if you don't shut up long enough to hear it? And I mean shut up in an affectionate way. I know some people think shut up is like a bad phrase, but I think it's funny. Shut the fuck up. That's what I tell myself sometimes. Shut the fuck up, woman. That poster that says, it has a police officer holding a coffee cup. That's what I heard. And it's an old, Norman Rockwell. It says, here, have a nice hot cup of shut the fuck up. Hold a cup of coffee. Yeah, sometimes too much, right? Sometimes more than you want. Have a nice hot cup. Speaking of hot cup, that's a funny poster. I'm sure you can find it if you Google it. A police officer I know who unfortunately has died had that by her desk and used to make me laugh so hard. Ooh, do you hear the bonger? The temple bell. Yikes, let's finish this up. I'm going to go inside. And then I'm going to come back and walk you through this metaphor exercise because it's really fun to do. Any technique that will engage your imagination is far more powerful than just staying locked up here. Involving your creativity and your imagination gives you access to the world. It gives you access to the collective unconscious that you can then make conscious. Make them, Roseanne. Okay. It's all like a breath, like a lake when you toss a pebble in. The ripples going out all those years, and now they're coming back. I undid the turmoil, and my children are losing it also. What we do for ourselves, our children respond to. Even my daughter as an adult is responding to. I know things are changing in me, and almost within a few days, things change within her. Same for my mom. She changes, we change. Same for the whole world. We change and the world changes. The apparent craziness of the world, like everything else, is a gift that we can use to set our minds free. Any stressful thought you have about the planet or your kids or your life shows you where you're stuck. Well, hi. Hi, Ariana. Any stressful thought you have about anything shows you where you're stuck, where your energy is being exhausted and not fully meeting life as it is without conditions. When I used to go backpacking by myself out in the woods, that's where I really learned to hear the garbage going on in my head. I was out there in the middle of nowhere, and I got to experience true fear, real fear. Like, I'm in an open meadow, and there's a mountain lion screaming on the ridge above me. That's real fear. And the gift in that, and by the way, I froze, so if it did want to eat me, it would have. It could have, because I was just like, frozen in place. I couldn't move. That taught me that all the other fear I generate in my head is bullshit fear. It's made up. It's imaginary. Real fear is the hair on the back of your neck going up. Primal fear is true, clean fear. Fear of debt, fear of other people's reactions to the things I say. That's imaginary garbage fear. And that I can get rid of in my own head. Any stressful thought shows you. You can't free yourself by finding a so-called enlightened state outside your mind. When you question what you believe, you eventually come to see that you are the enlightenment you've been seeking. What you've been out there looking for is already right here. Until you can love what is, everything, including the Trumps of the world, the apparent violence and craziness. You're separate from the world, and you'll see it as dangerous and frightening. People are fighting tooth and nail to hang on to their guns because they're afraid of what might happen if they don't have them. A man I knew who was a friend of my husband's, and he had an arsenal under his house. Very paranoid man. He's also died. Yes. Yes. And you probably had the best idea in the building. And now you know what that feels like, so you won't do it again. No, it didn't. Sometimes I ad-lib. You can have all the guns in your basement that you want. If the government's going to take over, they have tanks. Your little stash of guns is not going to help you. I know she had the best idea in the building. Yeah, I agree with that statement. Okay. The wind stopped blowing, so it feels a lot better out here. That's not to say that I'm not, I've already taken my stand on gun stuff. We need some rules. We don't need as many rules as some people think we need, I don't think, but we do need something. I don't want to hear about another preschooler shooting their sibling. I don't want to hear that stuff anymore. Yeah, Michelle's a wizard. She took the copy on I offer intensive day-long coaching packages that are like boot camp. They're super expensive, and they're super detailed, and they're very intense. And I couldn't get the copyright. I couldn't get the kind of wording that I wanted. And Michelle went through there, and it's magical now. It's completely beautiful and expresses everything I was trying to express. When the mind is not at war with itself, there's no separation in it. I'm 63 years old and unlimited. If I had a name, it would be service. If I had a name, it would be gratitude. Content's tricky. You can go dig around on my website and look at those pages. It doesn't matter. That's live TV. I don't even remember what I was talking about. It doesn't matter at all. I got distracted by gun control. Oh, I think that's all I was saying, is that people fight over gun control because they're afraid. It's not about Second Amendment. It's fear. It's fear and lack of trust of the government. And we shouldn't trust the government anyway. Don't put your well-being in the hands of anybody, whether it's an elected official or the person sleeping next to you at night. You're responsible for yourself. That's not to say I don't ask Heath to go check out weird noises outside. But I wouldn't hold him responsible. If he's really hard asleep, I go check out the weird noises. If I had a name, it would be service. If I had a name, it would be gratitude. It seems crazy. Fear, yeah. We create a false sense of security because it's easier than looking at the reality. It's easier than looking at our thoughts about the reality. Because not everybody is afraid of the government. I am. A little bit. But ultimately, I'm not. I mean, I joke about that, but ultimately I'm not afraid of the government. And I know that having a gun in my pocket is not going to protect me if we went into something like what happened. So here's why I say that. When I was, I used to have pen pals all over the world. And I was writing to a guy in Lithuania when the wall fell. And it was really cool because I got to see that happening in those little Baltic states from the perspective of him, and he had a wife and a little girl. So in their apartment, I can't remember the name of the city, but it was the main city, and he was writing to me about the tanks rolling in the streets that they could see from their apartment building when something was happening that, oh, it was a coup. You guys, I'm so terrible at details. There was a coup. There was a war. There was this thing, and a wall fell down. And he was telling me about, like, everything was an upheaval. They weren't part of the USSR anymore. And there were tanks in the streets, and they had to stay indoors. And it wouldn't matter if he had 17 military rifles in his house. They have tanks and soldiers. So all that's going to happen is you're going to fire a few shots, and then you're going to be dead. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. If that's the way you want to go out, and then that's your choice, that's totally fine. But thinking, the distorted thinking that having an arsenal and a piece of property and stuff like that for like the extreme doomsday preppers, sorry, it's not going to help you. What's going to help you is questioning those thoughts. What's going to help you is finding the peaceful spot in the center of the storm. Because then what happens? You're out of the country when the war happens. You're off on a beach in Saint-Tropez, and something horrible happens where your home is, and you weren't even there. Because you were like, hey, you know what would be fun? A beach in the south of France. Let's go! Because you were quiet, and you were peaceful, and you heard the small voice that said, might be a good idea to travel right now. You see, I mean, that's kind of a frivolous example, but that's how it works. You don't go to work that day. You wake up and you think, you know what, I'm not going to go to work today. I just really feel like I don't want to go. And then the towers get bombed. Right? I'll meet you there. I'll pack you in my suitcase. We'll all go. You know what would be the ultimate dream? To have as much money as Oprah and be able to fly everybody, all expenses paid. A hurricane destroyed a lot of Mississippi when you were visiting Texas. Yeah. Yeah. You're not there when the crap happens. That's a much safer place to be than sitting in a bunker armed to the teeth against an army, even if it's just the National Guard. It's not logical. I invite everyone to put these fearful thoughts on paper. You hear the bell? It's like, wake up! That's the wake up bell. Wake up! Where are your thoughts right now? Where are your thoughts right now? You may find you don't need to navigate a future at all. That what appears now is all you've got, and even this is always immediately gone. And when you've stopped making war with reality, you are what changes totally without control. That state of constant change is creation without limits, efficient, free, and beautiful beyond description. That's beautiful. When you stopped making war with reality, you are what changes totally without control. And the state of constant change is creation without limits, efficient, free, and beautiful beyond description. Me too. Me too. I just love her. I want to create without the immediate thought that my ego attaches, how can I monetize this? That's what we're working on inside the wolf den lately is, can we just create without then attaching a thought to it that says, this should be marketed. Yeah. Balance. When I first read this book, I couldn't even conceive of living life the way she was describing. And now it happens frequently that I'll get a few hours sometimes. So I hear when my ego is like, why don't you have an email list? What happened to her? She was a severe alcoholic. Severe. Suicidal, depressed. I think it was an intervention maybe with her family that got her to go to rehab. And I think it was after she came home. I'm totally paraphrasing, but she talks about it, I think, in the book Loving What Is. Create to purge is a great way. Yeah, she was laying on the floor, totally suicidal. A roach went over her leg, and she had that experience of otherness. She was enlightened in that moment. All her story just went away. That's not to say it came back. But she spent hours and hours and days and weeks of doing this. She'd sit at the kitchen table with her 4 questions. Yeah. So it didn't happen and it happened. She had to continue to work with it. She still does. And we all do. It's human. Enlightenment is that holy instant that Course in Miracles talks about. And then you have to keep doing it. Yes. Depression and suicide. He was going to kill himself. Martha Beck's also been suicidal. I've been suicidal. Depression, if you don't panic about it, can teach you a lot. It doesn't stick. Yeah, your enlightenment doesn't stick. You have to keep doing it. So she kept talking about this stuff and investigating her story. What she saw is the story. She saw it. And she said she had the experience of laying there on the floor being breathed. So she was totally aware. I don't know that much about Jeff Foster. I've seen some of his stuff, but I don't know that much about his history. She was aware that she was inhabiting the body and being breathed. I think I've seen maybe a little. I'll look it up. Definitely not a lot to immediately have a picture of who you're talking about, but I'll look. Okay, well, here's the thing. When you get to that point, it doesn't matter anymore. If you're like, well, I could kill myself. If you're willing to kill yourself, then why not just go do what you want to do? You got nothing to lose at that point. You can go, it's kind of freeing. You're going to go, people who get cancer diagnoses talk about it. Like, well, all of a sudden you don't really have to do what's expected of you. You don't really have to follow. Yeah, you might as well try anything. If you're going to be dead, then why not just go ahead and live? Typically, suicidal people don't truly want to die. They don't want to keep living the way they're living, and they can't see any way out of it. You make a lot of progress with suicidal people when you help them understand that you have to get the tunnel vision to open up enough, to see that there's other ways. Hitting bottom for sure, more than once. And then you're like, well, I'm alive today and I could have been dead, so why not do whatever the hell I want to do? Who's stopping me? The only thing stopping you is in your own head. So you might as well just run amok. What does Seth Godin say? Seth Godin says something about, I don't think it's running amok. Invites exhausted seekers around the world to finally come to rest. I'm interested. Put it in the group so we can check it out. Does it make sense? You got nothing to lose. You've got nothing to lose. You don't have to hit bottom to do it. You can do it right now. What have you got to lose? Who's stopping you? Nobody. Nobody's stopping you. Oh, thank you. So I had this wonderful professor in grad school. Do you know that color system, True Colors, where you look and see if you're a blue, a green, a gold, or an orange. It's a personality test thingy, the True Colors. I had a whole semester of True Colors from this awesome professor at CSU named Rich Feller. Yeah, and he actually was diagnosed with cancer, and he quit. Green and then blue. Like, they come out just like right next to each other. Green and blue. When you hit 40, you're like, well, I made it to 40. YouTube, okay. If it's all downhill from here, I might as well just do whatever I want to do. Whenever I want to do it. What was I saying? Oh, True Colors. Where was I going with that? I can't remember. I lost it. True Colors, Rich Feller, Running Amok. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with it. Group work is a lifesaver. Group work lets you know. Some people do really well in groups. Group work lets you know you're not unique. You're really not. You have the same problems everybody else does. You think the same crazy things everybody else does. Yeah, and what a relief, right? What a relief. We're not alone. We're not actually crazy. If you have enough presence of mind, yeah, we're all special. We can ride the short bus alone. Oh no. Yes, thank goodness. We have our own little short bus. We have our own little bus of uniqueness. I would much rather be on our bus than the big bus. I love kids with Down syndrome. There's something, I don't know if it's part of the package that comes, and I know that they're violent and stuff sometimes. Me too, Linda. I was afraid to open up in a group. I got the total privilege of working with, it's too much work, of working with a little 5-year-old kid with Down syndrome who would beat the heck out of you sometimes. But he was the most loving. The energy around that child was just amazing. And then I had a friend who had an older son with Down syndrome, and their perception of the world is magical. Yeah, hard. Yeah, her son would get pretty wild, pretty violent. And then at the same time, there was like this pure connection of love. It was amazing. Oh, do you? Yeah. It's, we can learn so much. Just being in the energy that little Scott radiated woke me up. Like, he woke me up just being around him. And I didn't even know it was happening till later. I was like, wow, he radiated something. Pure love. That, I think I mentioned it before, but that book by Martha Beck, Expecting Adam, is a brilliant book where she talks about being pregnant with her son, Adam, who has Down syndrome. It's a beautiful book. So, I'm going to stop here. Pure everything. That's a good point, right? Pure rage. Pure, I'm going to kill you. Pure anger, pure love, pure sadness. Maybe they just never get those filters that squash. Because Scott's tantrums were pretty short. Pretty violent, but pretty short. Because it's just this primal blast of energy. And then it was over. And he was back to radiating that awesome love. Maybe just smile. No. I really like, this is autism, but Temple Grandin, I really like her stuff. Yeah, that's really good, Nina. It's a really good point. Pure everything. We can do that too. Of course, we don't have to attack our caretakers, but we can allow pure blasts of emotion. Temple Grandin is awesome. Read her books. She has 2. She was at CSU. Is at CSU. That's where I went to school. Oh, yeah, she's incredible. The movie about her is really good, too. Oh, you did? She's awesome. I've never met her, but I love her books. And I was on campus at the same time, and I was like, you should just go over there and say hi. And then I was like, no. I never did. I wasted an opportunity. What an amazing woman that she has the gift to write about it. And let us learn from her uniqueness. Okay, I'm super cold. So I'm going to go inside and clear out the clutter. Yay! I love that you call yourself a Taoist. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to come back and talk to you about this metaphor way of getting answers to problems where you're stuck. So think of a problem where you're stuck, and I'll walk you through it. It's pretty quick, so maybe like 20-30 minutes. It's looking at problems as puzzles to solve rather than problems that, so then it weighs us down and we get stuck. But if we look at it as a puzzle to solve, then we engage our curiosity and our imagination. So I was using it last night, so I'll talk to you about her examples, and I'll give you my little short example from last night, and then you can use it yourself. I could probably scan and upload the form that she uses, and I can put it in Facebook later today. How about that? So I'll see you in about 15 minutes, if you're interested. You certainly don't have to. All right, love you guys. Thank you for helping me reach my goal. It's a huge relief to know that I don't have to worry about renewing my license, and that I can give this Desire Map stuff another year. To have an income for me and my family. I'm gonna get all weepy.